So it's been a while since I've done a movie review. I've really wanted to get back to doing these because I love doing movie reviews. It's just I really hated the way I was doing movie reviews. This is going to be a special occasion where I get to show off my new format of doing these movie reviews, and I also get to do a MMR, which is a multiple movie review as well. This is not every review is going to be a multiple movie review, but this happens to be the first one I have to do. I saw a lot of movies that I didn't get the chance to watch a while ago, and those movies are Elvis, Barbarian, and Men, and I saw The Woman King, and I'll also be throwing that in as well. Let's first talk about the first one I watched, and that is Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. I did not expect much from this film. I expected a biopic with a great performance from Austin Butler and a great performance from Tom Hanks, but this movie actually had a little bit more to offer besides great performances. Baz Luhrmann is a director I'm not very familiar with. I've not seen any of his films minus Elvis. I know he directed adaptation of The Great Gatsby and Romeo and Juliet, and so I really wanted to see this to get really a taste of his style because he's a big talk when cinephiles talk about this film, and I see why people really love this guy. He really injects his own personality into it, and it really feels like he is the perfect match to direct an Elvis film. The script, on the other hand, was not perfect, but if this movie brushed up its script a little bit, this could have been top 10 of the year material. It's still really good. I can't help but imagine how much better it could have been if the script was just a little bit tighter, because this movie runs about half an hour too long. This movie is an hour 39 minutes. It did not need to be that long, because at one point in the movie you find yourself a little bit in a loop, and the loop isn't necessarily a shocking loop that you find yourself in. Well, it's Elvis, you can't do that, I'm gonna do it anyways. I felt like I was in a loop of that for a good 45 minutes of the film, and while it's well filmed, well directed, well acted, I felt like at one point they just needed to say, okay, we need to cut this. And does it feel like Oscar bait? My answer is it depends on your point of view. I feel like it depends on what the filmmakers are going for, whether they're going from the standpoint of, oh, we're going to make this really long because we want to get some awards, or are we making it really long because Baz Luhrmann is just that indulgent. Like I said, I haven't seen his other films. I don't know how long his adaptation of The Great Gatsby is, but I'm assuming it's long. Overall, Elvis was held up by great performances, great directing, and with a style that is just always at an 11. It's always moving. It's a very watchable movie, and it's a kind of a feel-good movie that I quite enjoyed. I'm going to give Elvis an 8.1 out of 10. I also watched the movie twice, so thank you, HBO Max. The next film I checked out was Barbarian. I saw the trailer for this, and I said, heck yeah, I'm in. I checked it out, and it was terrifying. This movie is really controversial with audiences. I had someone text me, you've got to watch Barbarian, it's excellent. Then the same day I had someone tell me, don't watch Barbarian, it's horrible. Once I had that happen, I was like, I definitely have to check this out now. This movie, how much people tell you you don't know what's going to happen, it's going to subvert your expectations, it still managed to shock me. It still managed to have that wow factor. And this film is directed by Zach Krieger. Where was he these last couple of years? I know he directed one movie which wasn't pretty good. I know it's kind of been a joke with that he went from I think it was a rom-com to this, because he is an excellent horror director. He made one thrilling film out of Barbarian. Where this film excels most, putting you in a situation, making you feel with the characters, relate with the characters. And when you have those horror type elements happen throughout the film, you really feel it because they place the camera perfectly in the most claustrophobic way. They know how to film each scene best. There was actually quite a few cool camera tricks that this film pulled off quite well, almost like this fisheye lens type look, particularly towards the middle of the film. And this movie makes some bold choices in between acts where it can really just make or break the film for a lot of audience members. And I respect decisions like that. There is a lot of really cool stuff in this movie when it comes to its screenplay, and it is a horror movie that I think will really work upon rewatch, which is not something that we get too often nowadays. Most of the time, when you watch a horror movie, you watch it, it's done, and you don't really watch it again. That's the number one thing I noticed, because when you try to watch it, you know all the scares. But this movie, the way it unfolds and the way it's presented to you, I think watching this again is definitely going to hold up, because it's not necessarily looking for clues. It's just, it'll all feel much more complete when you watch it a second time. Particularly, I feel like this is going to be almost like this year's Malignant, where you show it to people and you just want to see their reaction to a specific part. So I'm going to give Barbarian an 8.3 out of 10. And the next film we're going to be talking about is Men, directed by Alex Garland. And I did not know what to expect going into this. Like Barbarian, this is another movie where people have told me, Jonathan, don't watch it, it's horrible, and Jonathan, you gotta watch this. I've actually held off watching this. Why? I don't know. I just haven't got around to watching it. I've not seen Ex Machina, but I love Annihilation, which is as well another Alex Garland film. And the number one thing that crossed over from Annihilation to Men is I really can feel the love for nature in his cinematography. The cinematography for Men is really, really good. It's a beautiful looking movie, tons of gorgeous nature shots, and it's just a really good looking film overall. Men was very scary for the first 2/3 of the movie. Then the last act happens, it gets so wrapped up in its metaphors, it kind of lost me a little bit. And maybe it could hold up on a rewatch and maybe all my problems will go away. But as for now, that last third of the film, really, I wasn't scared like the first two acts, and I don't know if it was a drop off. Maybe I got too confused. And it's not necessarily confusing what you're watching on screen, it's disgusting what you're watching on screen. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's just it's so wrapped up in this metaphor, and I don't necessarily know what to take out from it that the first two acts didn't already provide. Besides one character in the film, every single male character is played by the same actor, and I did not know that until the movie was done, and it really shocked me. And then I watched some clips again, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. But he did a really good job. I don't remember the actor's name, but he did a phenomenal job, and he really sold, because if he has to play every male character, he had to have a lot of range, and he did it very well to the point where I didn't even realize that they were all him. So that's a very good job, and the makeup and hair team must have did another really good job with that. Jessie Buckley is in this film, and she continues to be one of the more underrated actresses of right now. She was great in I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and she's great here as well. I'm sure she's in other films that I'm forgetting, but every single film I've seen her in so far, she's been really, really good. Overall, Men was a very solidly directed film, scary for the first two acts. The third act needs... I just need to watch the movie again. I don't know how I feel about that last third. A rewatch could make me like it less, it can make me like it more. And that's what you don't know, and that's the beauty of rewatching films. But as for right now, I'm going to give Men an 8 out of 10. And the final film I'm going to be talking about is The Woman King. I had very high expectations for this one, because it had an A+ cinema score, it had a 94% Rotten Tomatoes, high audience score, and my expectations were through the roof. I was really excited to check this out, and I can't help but feel a tad disappointed. I still thought it was a good film. There's a really lot of strong elements, but at the end of the day, I think this movie just maybe wasn't for me, and that's actually quite shocking for me to say, but there's a lot of contributing factors to why I see why some people like it, but at the end of the day, it didn't work for my personal taste at moments. But let's start off with the good. Viola Davis and the rest of the cast, phenomenal. Every performance was just excellent in this film. The fight choreography, also really strong. The story, well, it's very basic, but it's a solid story, and it had my attention. I was disappointed because I obviously am a big fan of practical stunts, doing things for real. And this film does provide a lot of that. But at the same time, I need to feel it to its max, and that means good cinematography and a good score. And this film provided okay cinematography and a lackluster score for me. And the biggest moment where I can tell is when, towards the third act, one big moment happens with a character, and the way with it was shot and the way the score was composed, I didn't feel much at all. And not because I was, oh, this cinematography sucks, it's just I sat back and I thought to myself, I imagine that would have been better, if that makes sense, because we have an actress giving it their all on set, that everything feels real. Honestly, it shocks me to say the cinematography bothered me the way it did, but coming from the director of the Old Guard, a movie with a mediocre script but great action and cinematography, to me it's weird that this movie is vice versa, where on paper it's a lot stronger, but this time I didn't feel it as much behind the camera. I will admit I was tired while watching this movie, so it could have been that, But at the same time, when you're watching a film like this, I don't think it matters how tired you are. It's pretty engaging. But on a personal level, I was engaged. On a story level, not as much. But every character has a solid arc. It's a good film. And there was no moment in the film, sadly, that made me go, yeah, let's do this. And I know people had that. There were cheers, and people were really into the film. And I just didn't feel it as much. And I don't know if it's a disconnect, just because I don't want to say it's all the cinematography and the score. Like I said, great cast, great choreography, and a great story. At the end of the day, when it comes to where I really strive behind the scenes, like, if you can give me a good cinematography and a good score, I'm the happiest you can get. And sadly, this movie didn't necessarily thrive there, and it thrived in other places, and that's perfectly fine as well. So I don't know if this is too harsh. It's just how I feel, and I'm going to give The Woman King a 7.6 out of 10. At the same time, I know I said I was complaining about those little things that much. It's just, in my personal taste, those things mean quite a bit. Heck, look at my favorite movie of all time, Interstellar. That's the best looking Nolan movie and the best scored Nolan movie. If I weren't such a bias to those two things, it might not even be my favorite movie of all time. So, like I said, it's personal taste, and The Woman King, while a good film, just didn't raise up to how some other people thought of it. But like I said, still a movie I quite enjoyed, and still a definite recommendation if you're interested. So yeah. Anyways, those are my 4 films I want to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed this new format of my reviews. Yes, I will be talking about other films more in depth when I don't do an MMR. I don't know how long they'll be, because I'm now trying to figure this out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this new format to see like my editing style and have a good day.